Good morning to all our eminent speakers and dear participants. On this auspicious day of Guru Purnima, I would like to start the day with the saying, Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guru Dev Namaha. I heartily, respectfully thank all my teachers and all the participants who are here, who are senior to me, for showering their knowledge on all of us. I, Tulika Pava, on behalf of JD Goenka University, extend a very warm welcome to all the participants on the second stint of the National Online Workshop on Pedagogy of Construction in Architectural Education, which is being held in collaboration with Council of Architecture Training and Research Center, Bhopal. The significance of accommodating innovative pedagogical methods in architectural construction pedagogy was evidently witnessed by all of us on the first day. We were very well acquainted with the gaps which are prevalent in architectural theoretical framework and miscellany in the AEC sector. Bridging these gaps is one of the pressing priorities which should be upheld in our curriculums to make certain that the budding architects are better equipped to have a taste of the multiplicities in the industry. Furthermore, integration of building information modeling in architectural education will not only expand the possibilities but will entirely transpose the way architects approach building design. These perspectives, if instilled in academia, would make the curriculum more robust and will enable us to create dynamic, streamlined structures that stand the test of the time. I now request Professor Bandana Jain, Head of the Department, School of Architecture and Planning, GD Goenka University, to please welcome our speakers and participants. Over to you, ma'am.
थैंक यू सो मच तुलिका। गुरु पूर्णिमा पर्व की आप सबको हार्दिक हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं। अल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन quotes, if you can't explain it simply, that means you don't understand it well enough. Good morning, honorable participants and speakers. I am Bandana Jain. On behalf of the GD Goenka University, it is my privilege to welcome you all to the second day of the National Workshop. I would like to take this opportunity to extend a very warm welcome to our eminent speakers, Colonel V.K. Malik and architect Manish Sharma. From one day to the next, teachers around the world have found themselves managing virtual classrooms, communicating with their students over social media platforms, and learning by doing as they provide education from a distance to the students affected by school closures due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The experience has been a steep learning curve. We have accomplished something with digital education that would have taken years. As necessity is the mother of invention, this situation has become an opportunity for us. This workshop is one such effort to bring in teachers and learners from different regions together to become more empowered, creative, and innovative. I'm sure that today's sessions, learning by doing, and upcoming building materials and techniques in construction will take us a notch higher in our knowledge levels. So once again, looking forward to a power-packed morning, I once again welcome the participants for joining this event. Over to you, Tulika.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. Now, commencing with the sessions, the second day of the workshop will witness interactive and engaging sessions in innovations in pedagogy and upcoming building materials and techniques. So, without much ado, moving on to this session, which will emphasize on innovations in construction pedagogy, learning by doing. The speaker of the session is Colonel Virendra Kumar Malik, an alumni of SPA, IIT, and IMA with 3 decades of rich experience of working in different environments to include various ministries of Government of India, military engineering services, and combat engineers on various appointments with proven capacity to lead and excel in mission oriented roles of infrastructure development projects. He has been continuously imparting the experience gained into fostering excellence and innovation in teaching structures and building construction to students of Sushant School of Art and Architecture. His philosophy of experiential learning encourages new avenues of thinking within the teaching disciplines and gaining experience by hands on activities in a lab based environment, making physical models and structural testing of models by learning through break concepts. Also, the teaching of art of adopting international methodologies and construction techniques by adapting them to native conditions. The concept of think global, act local, and be vocal is making students aware of current global industrial trends in design and construction by formulating and conducting frequent thematic workshops by various domains and disciplines and specialist vendors and providing a clean and sustainable learning environment in the online and face to face classroom mode. He is effectively using two methodologies of teaching, namely PBL, that is problem based learning, and PPBL, that is problem and project based learning, whereby setting a problem in an assignment which is solved by developing a project by relying on today's task and yesterday's experience. Gaming and creation are activities which have a potential for computational thinking skills which are enhanced by using Grasshopper Rhino softwares in preparing shells and form finding projects and models. Hepatic exercises are utilized to learn with the concept of think architecture and field structure concepts. Sir, it is an utter pleasure for us to have you on board with us. I request you to kindly begin with the session.
Thank you, Tulika, for introducing me. And good morning to everyone. And I hope all of you are safe and sound and healthy. And greetings of Good Purnima Day. Now I'll begin my presenting my screen. Now, on the onset, I must express my gratitude to COA-TRC Bhopal and School of Architecture and Planning, GD Goenka University, for inviting me as one of the speakers on our journey towards innovation in construction pedagogy. Let me tell you, this is a kind of a journey where we all go and learn. Like in a journey, what we hear a lot of stories, gossips, the buzzword around now in education sector is something known as outcome-based education. NEP, that is National Education Policy 21 or 20, NAC. So we are all program outcome, course outcome. All of these leads to something known as learning, teaching, and research. So today in our journey, I'll be just talking about learning. So in my journey, what we are going to discuss today is why learning? Is it so important in life? What exactly is learning? Who delivers this learning? Is it me, you? How is this learning acquired? What in this learning which we are acquiring, learning by doing is one part of it. Is it experiential learning? Why learning by doing is so important to all of us? How learning of doing helps in retention of knowledge with us? To have learning by doing environment, do we need a special kind of environment? Like you must have all heard words, student-centric, teacher-centric. Is it what is the environment which you have to create where active learning can take place? Then understanding the cycle of learning. Is there a cycle which is there as per the search for learning? Where does learning by doing fits in that cycle? Then I just through my experience and implementing in Sushant, we have developed our own cycle of learning in construction construction, a teaching construction subject to our accredited students. I'll be explaining that. Then, in that cycle of learning, understanding of learning curve by teachers, how important is it? Whether from there they can gauge fast learner or slow learner. Can they do something to there? In case they know learning curve, they'll be able to identify that. Then in the end, I've just developed a sample course document which we can adopt for in our universities for teaching construction. A kind of a syllabus from first semester to eighth semester based on learning by doing and my own experience. So you can, it's only my take for that, which we'll be discussing that. And lastly, I've asked you the question as to how challenges are there to teach construction documents to students, and we'll be talking on that. In case the time is there, we'll go into small breakout rooms and do it. Otherwise, we'll have a discussion on that. So let the journey begin. Like you have stations, these are my stations. The first question is, why learning? Learning is there to gain wisdom. Actually, possessing learning or knowledge is very important. However, able to draw upon and apply this knowledge is necessary or is a function in life. That is the reason why learning is important. Let me just recall one incident. 2 weeks back, Chancellor was addressing all of us and he narrated one story. He said that Samir Bhatia, once he was, after finishing in schooling in India, he had gone to US. Since at that particular time, the higher education sector was not well developed in India. So he's gone abroad to America. And there he had taken admission to a course. And he was given one assignment for which he was supposed to submit the thing to the professor. He did that. He went through Google. That time he went through internet, searched, went through library, gave answers to the solution, and submitted it to the professor, thinking that he'll be getting very good grades. But to his surprise and horror, he barely passed in that subject. He thought, oh, what is this? What is this has happened to me? I did everything. So he thought of leaving the course. So before leaving the course, he went to the professor and asked him, okay, sir, what is my mistake in this? He says, Samir, you have done excellent. You have just got all data, all information, and all knowledge from all internet. But where is your application of that knowledge in this question? So that is what, had you written one liner or one sentence for that, I would have given you marks. So Samir took that very seriously, and let me tell you, later on, he was the one who was instrumental in giving us Hotmail. So that is what we want our students to be. That knowledge has to be created and has to be converted to wisdom. That can only happen once we apply the same thing into our lifelong experiences. That is the reason what I've drawn, if you see, I've got this graph where on x-axis is the learner literacy. On y-axis, I've added this learner competency. That is where a learner is applying his knowledge on the real life basis. We all want our students to move towards that higher fourth quadrant where I've shown it. I hope you can see that, where I'm just moving by pointer. So this is what is just like, I'll give you example of Pandavas, where Arjun. So he was the one, once Dronacharya had given them, okay, one bird was there, they were supposed to take aim. So he was the one who take aim at the eye of the bird, and that is the reason he could concentrate and do it. So what I mean to say is, whatever teacher teaches you in class, unless and until you apply it on ground, no learning will happen. But what is there in our control is increase basically the learner literacy. So learner literacy can be increased by, what do you mean by pedagogy? Pedagogy is nothing. It is just the method and process of teaching. in theory and practice. So this is what is there in our hands as a teacher, as an educator. We can revise our content. Let me tell you, because construction is one thing which is evolving over the time and years. Imagine the time once we used to put gatti to put our pelmet and all. Now those things of gattis and all have gone. We've got roll plug, we've got dash root boards. So those are the things, whatever latest things which is happening in our industry has to be inculcated in our basically course curriculum. So that is the content has to be industry specific. Plus, another thing which you have to consider while designing your course content, whether vertically it is going from top to bottom, that means from first semester to last semester, is it going in some fashion? Or is learning continuing from one to another? And also horizontally, whether it is moving, that is it relating ourselves to structure, also relating ourselves to other theory subjects, so that I can apply the same learning in my design studio, or as in my structure, whatever learnings I achieve from structures can I apply in my construction studio. These are the things have to be kept in mind while designing the curriculum. Similarly, design styles have also changed. We have moved towards hands-on. There's no longer only one-way teaching a thing going on. It is more moving towards hands-on activity, material testing, on-site activities, talks, exhibitions. I incorporated these things in my curriculum and my teaching styles is what is required to be seen by all of us. Whether we are also using the technology, the software which is available, latest software which is available to us. Are we using that? Are we using VR tools, AR tools, which is available? Are we going for a virtual? Let me tell you, there were a lot of resistance before the COVID. We used to tell all teachers to go online and start making online capsules and courses. They were very hesitant of doing that. But COVID has forced us into learning all these online tools. And now we are well conversant with this online tool. Even the students also who are there also faced problem initially in doing that. Moving on, I got then what exactly is learning? Learning is just in education sector is the process of acquiring new or modifying existing knowledge to our learner, behavior, skills, value, and attitudes. These are some of the quotes. Some learning is immediate, it comes immediately and by a single event, but we have to be very cautious towards that because much of the skill and knowledge accumulates from our repeated experiences. We explore that thing again and again, like in my one of the classes, I teach them, I teach them portal frame, then they do the portal frame, report on portal frame, then they do it also on model on portal frame. So same activities, same knowledge, once it is ingrained in them and they start learning through there. Once they get interest, then only they start learning in that. Because learning also involves certain change happens. It may not guarantee improvement immediately, but there is, let me tell you, there is going to be change which is going to last lifelong in your life. Learning also gives you better thoughts, better ideas, better solutions, better understanding, better skills, better awareness. This is, let me tell you, this is just the beginning. We are all learning right now. Like, let me tell you who delivers this learning. I have formulated these three things. Learning comes from our group, from mother and from family. Learning also comes from our peers, friends, enemy, competitor. This is the second aspect is what we are not concentrating more on, because in our days we used to have crit which was supposed to be given by teachers, then same thing we used to discuss amongst ourselves. So that is the learning which happens once you discuss between yourself, between your friends. You also see from enemy's mistake how he has done it or your competitor have done it. You also learn from there. And lastly, learning is also done by yourself also, by your research, by your, like nowadays we've got the self-paced learning where students themselves decides, okay, I have to learn this. They go through the documents, they go through research. Now they're all Google kids. They can go on mobile, they find out elements about it and they learn accordingly. But all this learning has to be held hold by the teacher. And let me tell you, learning doesn't stop there. It's a lifelong process. Learning happens all the time. Sometimes people say learning is also from hands-on. Learning we learn from nature. We learn from our own body. That is what I teach in my class as to how, with your own bodies, your pressure, compression, movement, and everything is all can be taught through your own body by feeling the structure. You also learn from the mistakes of others. You also learn from your own mistakes. That is the reason why in my classes we encourage people to make as many mistakes as possible. Once you make mistakes, then you find solution. So that means a teacher who is there is basically a good teacher is what is a good storyteller. He explains students what they need to know at that particular time. Once he makes a mistake, that is the time he tells you what is need to be known in that particular time. Then only learning happens. You also learn from history. I also read one article in which the learning also comes from the playfulness by gaming exercises and other things. So these are the things which I also use in my teaching methodology while we teach students. Now, this is what is a famous thing which is there. I say teaching without learning is just plain talking. Unless until you apply it, it is just talking and futile. And in architecture, we deal with spaces. That means we think in architecture. I believe in this concept. We think in architecture. We feel the structure, how the forces are being felt, and then we create construction, and we make it into a reality. And like it's a famous saying, I hear, I forget, I see and remember, I do and I understand. This is what the famous saying. Then the Bloom's technology came. They added, I discuss and I analyze, I evaluate and I create. And I've added my word. That is, I reflect on what we have done. And then I take it forward and I improve further. Now, what I've shown on the left-hand side, like this, instead of having this three thing, we have got this hexagon, you come learning, listening, speaking, observing, experiencing, interacting, researching. Now, researchers have told us that 70% of learning comes through experiential or participatory and doing things. That is model making, workshop, site visit, gaming exercises is where you learn more. Okay, so that is the reason once you see the history, what is learning? So you see importance of learning by doing. So it is in the Gurugram time, 2,400 years ago. So this philosopher, he has said, for the things we have to learn before we can do them, we must learn by doing them. So nobody that time paid importance to that learning by doing. It's only in the last 100 years when John Davy in America, he gave us, okay, that is, he says, unless until you are in a learning, some thinking is involved, then only learning takes place and happens and learning naturally results. We go down in 1970s or 80s, Klopp has given us another theory. That is, they all have added on to the theory of learning by doing. That is, he have further classified into experiential learning of theory. That is introducing his classes into activities, games, role play, and simulation. And then he calculated that, then he see the result was there was a retention on the part of students of which increased substantially. So this is what is the theory which is there now, right now going on. And there's another Roger in 1990s. He had given us another. He says, okay, learn from the mistake. You do it again and again, and you fail, and you learn from there. So this is what is there. Researchers have told us, and we have to take this thing learning by doing forward. So in that, why experiential learning is so important? Because you get continuous learning in this. You get time to improve. You experiment, you fail, you reflect upon it, and then you get instant feedback, you repeat the process, and you change and you create something different. So learning is a process. This involves effort. In any effort, if some effort is involved, learn from mistakes, you do reflection, something has to go sinking into your brain. So some refinement will go. So this is how the strategies which we must adopt in teaching our subjects to our students. Learning is also a process whereby we make sense of the experiences, especially these experiences which are active. We engage in making these things and exploring the world. So this is how I taught initially I started teaching structures to my students. That is, I took the principle of experiential learning. I taught them how by feeling they will be able to learn. Like you see on the extreme right, you see two people are just touching themselves. They're knowing how compression and all is taking place. Like another one, if you see by doing it, that is you're holding a bag. Once the bag is far off, you get more stress on your basically collarbone. So this is how learning by feeling I was just explaining then. Similarly, okay, let me ask you, what will be your weight if you're standing on an inclined plane compared to what you're standing on a flat plane? Any guesses for that? Is it going to increase or decrease? Let me tell you, it is going to decrease. Most of the people I asked, it's going to decrease. How? Then I told him to take his weight on slope and take his weight on the flat surface. It's only because of the cos theta factor which comes into mg is where your weight is basically getting reduced, because mg cos theta is something in point form. So that's why you reduce any value which is multiplied to cos theta. So this is how. Also, if you see on right side, I also teach them how to stand. I also make them walk on eggs. Then they know the concept of how shells and other things are being. So this is what is the concept which I'd use for my structure of this thing. Let me tell you, I've got this blog which is known as Prakash Thumb. You can just type it anytime, go there, and there you'll see more images and more experiences of students and their own experiences and how we are teaching this to our students in our classes. So now moving on to our subject, that is what is we're going to do in our construction. That is, learning is actually a process. I don't want any learner to learn anything. It should not, learning by doing should not come so early, because then there is no learning itself. It may come through fluke or something. So that is, you got to be very careful on these things. And plus, let me tell you, any student whom you are engaging in your class has to, because the teacher, a student himself has to know what he has learned, what he wants to learn in this class, and what he has actually learned after doing the course. Unless until you grab his attention towards the class, he will not actively participate in the class. And your basically job is to fill that gap of the knowledge which he has got and the knowledge which we want him to experience is to gain. So benefits which we have seen, the benefit which we get by doing hands-on and learning by doing is all more fun and engaging, allows experience from real experiences, encourages interaction with nature, and also allow exploration of all five senses, all things are involved. And it also engages your mind area of brain where critical thinking and other things happen. And on the bargain, you also learn some good skills. For all this learning to happen, they've got to have basically active environment or student-centric environment. So this is where the learning parameter tells you. That is, I want all my this thing is to go up to that 90%. The moment one student start teaching another student, that is the ultimate kind of a learning. That is where we want each student to reach. And this happens only if you have a participatory teaching, where you participate, you have group discussions, you have practicals, you do it. Let me tell you, when you engage students to do something, they are engaged in active learning. Because they're doing something, they have to think, they have to make something, they have to create something. So in a way, they're also learning a skill and putting that skill into knowledge and test. And it is only this kind of active environment which we have to create in class. How I can do this? I can do this by research-based learning, flip or inverted classroom, which I have done. One part of it I've done will be discussing those things at the end. So there you tell students as to what they're supposed to explore, and you discuss the same thing in the class instead of just giving one-way feedback to them. And right now it's concept of basically the new NAP policy is just in time, where student himself decides when he wants to learn and what he wants to learn and where he wants to learn and which mode he wants to learn. And now we are all moving into virtual learning environment. A day will come where students will be taking a course in which he'll be taking, and course will be same all throughout. The same course will be taught by me, and my assignment will be checked by some teacher in Goenka, and then evaluation of the same thing and taking it further will be done by some people somewhere in SPA. So this is what is a virtual kind of environment we are all moving to. Are we geared up for that? No, we have to move towards that, and we have to get that mindset with us so as we can move towards that kind of point. So this is what is a thought. Don't get this thing by I've got so much things which is put up there. It is only if you see on the left side is your teacher centric, right axis is your student centered, and if you move from bottom to top, that is a low technical area to high technical area. So in this case, what happened used to happen in the first quadrant when it was all teacher centered, that is, it was all lecture based things which used to happen. And teacher only tells you to do something on hands-on activity, you should not guide it further. For us to move from teacher centric to student centric, we have to basically, if you see on my right side, these 6 things we have to take care of. I was just talking to one instructor there. He has introduced like hands-on teaching is what is on class. If I give a student any problem in a group, he is going to collaborate with others and learn. He'll be communicating with others and learning. And there will be some critical thinking which is going to happen in him. And because of the critical thinking, some creativity will come. But don't forget, because of this COVID, that I had asked assignment, and some of you, I think Deepti and all, somebody may have written, I think Deepti or Sakshi, something she has written about you got to be considerate. So that is the word I've added here. You got to be caring for students. In case you're moving towards student-centric environment, you got to hold their hand. There may be in a class a slow learner, like you have written it, differential instructions has to be given for slow learner, where you have to identify the slow learner, organize remedial classes plus extra classes for him to catch up with others. Plus, you got to have in the student-centric environment case-based projects. Where let me tell you the difference between case-based project and your project-based learning and other things. Case-based projects are the project which is given or given to students to identify in case they come across in a blockade, then they see, okay, this is what happened in that particular case, and they take learning from there. And that is the time when it is introduced by teacher at that particular moment, and then they have that learning. And another is if you give them a project right in the beginning, so the whole learning happens through that project and they develop on it. For all this thing to happen, we teachers have to be very careful. We got to have a disciplined lesson plan. We got to know what are the methods we're going to use for this technology for giving learning to our teacher or to our students. You got to have basically inverted kind of a classroom where you tell them you just tell them the brief, and then you in the class you discuss the solution, then only learning happen because they himself has explored something, and then you basically reinforce upon it and refine their concepts and their doubts. Then there's something known as new NOP has given us personalized kind of a learning where freedom is given to students to learn at his own pace. He can demand exams at his own time. All this can happen if you move from low tech to high tech, where all your lesson plans, all your lectures are all recorded, available in recorded form, and your discussions are only thing which is happening during the conduct when you're having face-to-face or online interaction with students. So this is where we all have to move forward and move towards in case we have to face reality of the coming months and coming years. This is what is a slide which tells you what was given to us in NAP 2020, where everything is now given to students. Student has got this flexibility to pick teacher and timing when he wants to take lecture. He can also frame his coursework where he wants. He can also frame his degree as to what is going to be there. Whether he can study in real world or face-to-face or what time he wants is all there. It's only also possibility is given to students. Whenever he's ready, he's going to take exam on demand. So you got to be prepared for all these things. Let me tell you, the need of our nowadays is for the more of a blended kind of learning. Blended learning is you have 40, NEP tells you that 40% of learning is going to take place in online classes. For that, in online classes, if you have recorded sessions, that will mitigate the problem of those students who don't have the connectivity issues, or who are not able to assimilate the same thing in one go can go through your recorded classes and learn through there. And for any discussion and everything, and for clearing of doubts, you have face-to-face classes, which is 60%. This is what is the guideline which is given to us by NEP. So we all have got to get used to it. Also, they have also suggested reforms, which is going to be there in exams. It's going to be open book, group exams, oral exams, demand exam on online basis, portfolio, creative projects, and your AI tools will be used to basically assess students. So this is where we will all have to move forward and learn. Now, going towards our basic aim of experiential learning and developing our own model, how we have done it. Now, Klopp, in his this thing learning model, have suggested 4 stages: active experimentation, concrete experience, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization. Basically, it is nothing but activity is what happened or what experience you've gained through that. And reflection is done as to what experience you've got. And then when did this happen? Those findings and why this has happened is all talked about in concept when you go into that 4th stage. Last is what do I do next? So this is what is a basic nutshell. Globe had given us these 4 kind of stages and processes. And on my research, what I found is what is there on the extreme left side is what is being used in one of the schools in Canada. There, they've used this policy of explore. There's a question which is given for reference. Then you experience through it. Then you connect your prior knowledge with that experience which you have gained. Then you create something, a new understanding in your life. Then you share the same thing with the other and reflect upon. So taking this thing further, in our studio, what I have done and is doing in our construction studio is what is there on the right side. That is experiential learning focuses on learning reflecting on the experience of doing something or to gain conceptual insight as well as practical expertise. That is, first thing is once I introduce a problem, I tell him, I give him all freedom to explore. I give him freedom to learn from mistakes and failures. I tell him, go do it. I'll tell you in detail what you do it. I'm just telling you the cycle right now. How we do it in Explore, I'll explain in my future slides. So only just to know the cycle, I've just projected this slide. First, I tell him to explore. Whatever knowledge he has got earlier, he tried to connect new knowledge by exploring things. Then whatever is explored, he comes and debate in the class. We have discussions, we have arguments, we have heated discussions as to why this column is fixed to, the steel column is fixed to the pedestal in this particular form, why not another form, is all discussed, and all ideas, all churning of ideas, all principle of theories of doing things is all discussed in this debate kind of a thing which we have in the classroom. Then we develop the vocabulary and dialogue with mentor as to, okay, this is rafter, this is purlin, how a rafter is fixed to purlin by this cleat, whether the cleat is on the upside or low side is all being discussed and thrashed out in this debate. Once he has learned this, then he creates a model. So I told you right in the beginning, if you create model right in the beginning, you will not learn anything. There is a time when you have to create model and learn. So this is where we tell them, okay, now create either one-to-one model, depending upon the whatever expenses or finances given in the school or institution, or you can have your miniature model. You create that. While creating that, you learn something. What you learn is what we're going to discuss in this. That we learn, I believe, we learn deepest when we are deeply engaged in creating. Because what I found was that in teaching construction subject to teachers, to students, they had problem of visualization as to how this joint is going to fix with another joint, how the bricks are going to be laid in this, okay, English pond or Flemish pond, why staggering of joint is done there, what is known as confined masonry, or what is if I make it the same thing in different material, how the different material behave. So that problem of visualization is all solved and resolved once you create yourself. After knowing, not creating right in the beginning, but after exploring, debating with teacher, then creating. After you have created, then you reinforce. Okay, I have created this. This is how it works, and then you reflect and recall. That is when the ultimate learning is what happens to our students in construction studio. So this is what we use. That is, if you see this cycle, that is your start. I give, introduce a problem. They explore by going on sites. They do market survey. I give them case-based solution or problem-based inquiries. So they go through that, depending upon whether they're doing brick, steel, or metal, or wood, or any composite material. They do this. They follow the same thing. That is like yesterday. Yesterday, one of the participants asked, okay, site visit and all can be incorporated right at these stages, where you, in our COVID time or before COVID time also, I did an experiment. I told group of students, okay, you can identify a site which is nearby your location and go there and give me a weekly feedback as to what is happening on that site. Then only you learn. So students learn through that. And they also learn through experimenting and also asking questions from the craftsmen who were doing work at site. So this is where we got to give them freedom to explore, visit sites. And during this COVID time, I told them, okay, like we were teaching basically steel structures to students. So we told them, okay, first thing is, and first exercise we did was tell them, okay, in your home itself, since it's a COVID time, just see what are the steel elements which is there. Windows, your how the cooler frame is there, how basically your steel gate is there, and how it has been fixed, what are the joints, how it has been done. So this is the thing. Unless you have got in your mind something to teach students and you got passion to teach to students, this kind of activity will never happen. So as a teacher, we got to have passion towards teaching. Then only you can innovate and do things. So that's why we gave them example, like for the like wood derivative things. I told students, okay, see your kitchen, see your table, how the joints have been done, and what are the hinges which is being used. Why that kind of hinges used there? Why not another kind of hinge? Whether it is basically you got whatever joints, whatever materials, they were all talked about. So that means there is no, you don't bog down that COVID hai to chhod do. No, you find out ways and means to teach. And like yesterday, Ravi was also saying, we introduced this thing also, that we have virtual visits by faculty. Okay, faculty, since he's moving around, he can, in one of the class where my one group had gone towards site. So from the site, they were live streaming everything to us in our classrooms, and we were all discussing. So only that will should be there. Technology is already there. Only thing you have to adopt that thing. So that is where is the first exercise which we gave is basically giving him all freedom to explore that particular subject or that particular topic which we want to teach. So that should be your first step towards in the cycle of learning. Next cycle could be where you're having debate and manthan. They come forward, they give you PPT, so they learn, they make sketches, they know how to make. Like nowadays, the concept of making small sketches and diagrams have all gone. So we all have to force them to do those things. So they only, once you do anything by hand and do something sketching, another thing, then only you learn. So you discuss upon it, you have argument, and this is what yesterday somebody was asking, where we can introduce the master craftsman. This is, ma'am, where the place where the master craftsman, if you see on the picture which is there on right bottom or left bottom, is where master craftsman can come and teach the thing or give demonstration and can tell you. Or you can also, like in this case, we got for our advanced building construction, we got this lectures done. From this COVID is a boon for us, where previously we used to search for people to come and give us lecture. Now in this online mode, we can invite them, they can come, they can connect, and we can have get enriched by the experiences. So we conducted a lot of BIM exercises, how somebody had come, he had given us lectures on BIM, then there was something to like ways to value material, which was done by the young entrepreneur, a young architect. She had done this. So these are the things which we introduced, and we got the same thing done in our classroom exercise also. So this is where the forum, after exploring, all debating, all reinforcing, everything for the student, particular thing has to be resolved at this particular moment. If you do this, then student is ready to create, to do something. So depending upon where you are, whatever materials you've got, you can create by learning through physical model. You can also learning in this online mode by doing virtual model. You can also introduce wherever feasible, wherever possible economics tells you can have it by virtual reality, creating model, augmenting those things, using those bins kind of a thing. You can also see animations on YouTube, processing, and you making your own process has to be. I make sure the students, once they're creating something, I make sure I tell them to record the process so that you can just after seeing, rerunning and seeing that thing again and again, you can learn and you can get more ideas and more things. That is, you are just breaking free from the classroom kind of environment, you're moving outside. And another question which was there yesterday with one of the thing, this is the place where construction yard and workshop comes into play, where you are using this kind of a thing in your environment or in your teaching process. And just see how they have made it. They've moved outside, they made arches, they made those joints. Unless until he places, or unless until he, this is where after making this model, they knew, okay, how gusset plate is there to support basically those rafters and tie members. Otherwise, whatever you teach on board is not understood by him. It's only after making these things is what is known to students and learn from there. So that's why I say learning by doing is much, much important, and we can use it in our teaching construction subject to our teachers or to our students. If you move ahead, I say doing helps. This is what is examples which you have done. Doing helps. That means this is where maximum teaching or learning takes place. Each one teach one. I'm working in a group. So I'm working in a group, I'm teaching, I'm learning, and I'm teaching my other co-faculty also. Just see how the twisted column he has made it, how the rat trap bond they've made it, how the shell structure they've got it, the geodesic dome they've constructed. So this is how, based on whatever the finances with there with you, either you can go for a miniature model, but the best thing is once in institution, if they can allow them to do and give them finances and resources to do online one-to-one or one-to-one model, that is the time once they learn maximum. I hope everybody is understanding as to what I'm trying to reach at.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, after I've done everything, is the time to reinforce mapping. This is where the drawing things comes into play. That is, this is where you start making those drawings, you sketches, you're finalizing those things and making it happen in classroom. Since you've already explored, you already discussed, you already created. Now you're in best frame of mind to make drawings on classrooms. And this is where you as a teacher, you're also there to help or hold hand of students. And this is where he's also creating. I've just shown you. And then motivate them by putting up the best works forward and keeping exhibition, holding exhibition. Like in my blog, I put up the good work so that everybody can see it online. Or also in this case, if you see in the classroom, I've displayed all the good work done by students. So they all can learn from each other. So I may not be perfect in one thing. I can learn from other. So that attitude has to become inside students. Then only he learns, and that can only happen if a teacher you are passionate enough to teach to students as to how those learnings or those teaching has to be told to them. And this is where yahan pe I've introduced another concept, which is best self-evaluation. Like I'd gone for a jury I keep on going for the juries to other institutes where I ask in end, I always ask question as how much you rate yourself, whatever work you have done, whether you are able to, unless a student is able to rate himself and can learn on a base rubric as to what is his learning outcomes and whether he has achieved it or not. And then I call it a 360-degree evaluation. That evaluation of work is done by self. Evaluation is of that work is done by your friends. Evaluation of that work is done by me as a teacher. Then finally, evaluation of the same work is done by external jury member. So that is 360-degree evaluation is given to students. And this is where after his own evaluation, he also comes to know about, learns about those mistakes and he can correct it before it goes for the final jury. So that is the thing which has to be, that is the process which has to be ingrained in students so as to have that kind of learning happen towards our students. Is it okay? So, and this is the best form of learning. So once you have come, you can evaluate yourself. That means you can recall, you can reinforce, you can improve, you know your mistakes, and you can move forward. So this is where we all have to move forward. And last one, this is as long as how we are teaching, and as a teacher, how my thought process, I told you now, how in learning curve you identify. There are basically, if you go through research and all, I got this thing done from the research value. That is, there are 4 kind of stages of learning. And now they've introduced the 5th one also. One is a comfort zone. Comfort zone, he's a student is saying, okay, I don't know, and I don't want to know also. So he's in that happy mood and comfort and feel comfort zone. So you have to identify these kinds of students and make them learn. Next is another student who has got, is basically he's in a fear zone. He knows that, okay, I have to learn something, but he don't know what to learn. So he wants to improve, but he doesn't know what to do. So he is having that lack of self confidence. He is in that fear zone. So we as teacher have to hold these students' hand and also make them come forward. And the third one is basically he knows how to do it, but he also know that I have to concentrate on my task, and he knows what he has to do, and he also knows what he's learning. So he is in that learning zone, and we have to encourage these students to move forward and go one level up. And then 4th one is your unconscious competence, where the student knows I can do it with ease and habitually and repeatedly I'm able to do it. So he is on that growth zone. And the last one is where you know I can explain how to do it. I know I can do it with ease. I can also teach others to do it. So this is the stage where we want each one of our students to reach. And as far as the learning curve you should see on the left side, is basically nothing but it is just a learning curve graph where correlation is happening between the learner performance. If you see on left side is your learner performance on the y-axis, and z side on x side, x-axis is basically the time frame where you are happening. So this is what exactly the learning curves happen. The student learn and they because once, like I told you KWL in the beginning, na, students, he knows what he has learned. He wants to learn something. And lastly, he is in the frame of mind as to what he has learned. So this, in case he wants to learn, so that's why initial learning will take place faster. And then there is going to be some dip or plateau which is going to come. So that is the time when, as a teacher, we have to motivate students to take that step further. This can only happen if my course curriculum, which I've developed, is well connected, well formed, well modulated, Well, rubrics are attached, assignments are assigned, and numbers are there, and you can evaluate at that particular moment as those milestones whether students are reached or not reached. And let me tell you, in this case, you also have another kind of a learner, which is like this, which is very fast. A learner, he says he learns immediately because he is got in the shell mind. He immediately learns. But then he says, okay, oh, I have learned. He is in that stage, okay, I've learned and I've done enough. And he goes into that plateau. So we have also have to identify these kinds of students and make them motivate. So this is all happen like in my once we develop our course curriculum, there we see okay after 6 weeks we identify the progress which is done by students and where all these students have reached, and we identify those students and start holding the hand of students who are slow, start holding the hand students who are fast but now gone into that plateau mode. So we'll also have to take care of these students also. And these are where the slow learners are. He is very slow, but you have to hold his hand and teach him and guide him and take him towards others are. So this is how, in case you have compassion for these students and you are caring for these students and you got passion for teaching, only then is the time you can take these students also, because in a class there are students who are very fast learners, there are students who are very slow learners, there are students who are very moderate learners. So you can only know this once you have everything chalked out right in the beginning of starting of your course. So in the end, I have developed a kind of a course curriculum which can be adopted in institutes across the India for this basically construction subject. In first semester, they can talk about masonry, everything related to masonry, that is walls, column, foundation, pedestal, opening, arches, flooring, roofing, steps, all even partition wall. Just see the faces of the students, how happy they are. So they are doing it with passion. So once they do it with passion, it gives them aspiration to do more. And because of this, they have done these things. They made it in model. They could do, see how much innovations they can do it in the jalis. They've also done it with basically your small MDF boards. They've also done it with basically your erasers, and also how scaffolding has been done. And next is you go into wood. In next semester, you talk about wood. You have got everything: wood, beam, trusses, mezzanine, partition, stairs, doors, windows of wood. You talk about everything related to wood and even derivative of woods. All those things are taught there. Then you come to third semester. This is where I have tried to introduce this small project. That is, this is where whatever I have learned, I say now vertical development. So this is where vertical development also happens. That is, I've learned something in masonry, I've learned something in wood. So can I be given a small project where, okay, where vertical disaster management project is there? I'm making something, some project can be given to them where they have to design and innovate their structures in either in floodplains where you're making everything with out of bamboo and thatch, and also other lighter materials, and making your buildings on stilts, or you're going and making building somewhere in hills and mountains, or you're making building somewhere in lay. So the concepts of these things are taught to students in your construction module at this third semester phase, and also it links up as to your teaching which you have taken or given them in your masonry as well as in previous 2 semesters. And even if you see, if the time permits, even the finance permits, so these are some of the examples which is not done by our university, but is also done around the world, where one model has been created. And I saw in somewhere in, I think Ahmedabad or somewhere in Gujarat, they have this construction yard where they're making these kinds of model in one-to-one scale. So it all depends upon what the university or teaching are financing you. Like they could make this model of cash roof, which is there in Guwahati and other things. So those colleges can use this, can take them to these sites and can get this small project done. That means at this third semester, you have cleared students' doubt about masonry, about wood, use of wood, and also related them to the teaching which is there for our vernacular architecture and the latest thing which is there of the disaster, or what are the norms which you have to consider regarding those disaster management in our making houses disaster proof. Next, in the fourth semester, and you can also, in the fourth semester, I'm talking about metals. So there, metals, same thing. Column, beam, trusses, whatever you're doing in wood, same thing. You're now, the material has changed. Now it has become calm. So what are the differences which happen? So you relate it. Okay, there I had that kind of a joint, whereas in metal I am having this kind of a joint because of the property of the metal. So this is how, and how the mezzanine, how the partition, even the stairs are changing. Basic concept is same. It's a dog-leg staircase, but it is designed in metal. But the same thing, it is designed there, it was designed in wood. So what are the precautions which is there? So you link up those things. So that means you are building on the knowledge which student has learned earlier, and you are building and developing it and then making it down below. Okay, and the metal is not restricting yourself only to steel. You can also talk about this light gauge metal. You can also talk about aluminum. You can also talk about other materials which is available in market and can be included in your course curriculum at this particular point. Next, in basically fifth semester, we'll talk about something of a composite material. So let me tell you, just remember that small project. So there in the small project, I have also introduced them to making those drawings with grades and everything. So that will actually help me to the question which I've asked you. That is the construction document. So that is the most difficult thing which we have to teach students, is what this small project which I've done at third semester will come handy to me. So whatever learnings I've done in this will come handy to me in while I'll start teaching those construction documents, okay, to my students. So I was on fifth semester, where composite material, that is column, beams, walling, basing, ramp, stairs, core, slab, roofs, is all you're talking about in concrete, you're talking about in any composite material which is available. You're having a small project where they are having your, how the facade is changing if I make it in concrete, and how the jalis, how the chajjas are being introduced, how the basically sills are being introduced, how the basement is now, basement and all is all introduced here. So your ramps are all introduced here. So slowly, I started with wall column foundation, started adding trusses, mezzanine, partition, stairs, started adding your similar kind of a thing in metals. Then I've started now gone back down to basically ramps, basements, waterproofing, and your basically your roof insulation. Those are the, and core, how you're designing your core of a building, how toilets are being designed. So those things are all taught to students at this particular stage, and they have till time have also connected themselves with services. Till that time, they have already been taught about how toilets are being functioning, how ramps are being functioning, how your chajjas are being functioning, how the climate things are being functioning. So that's why you are also linking up with the other theory subjects. And we introduce this at the stage of basically 1 to 5th is a semester you're having this composite kind of a thing. Then this is what I'm saying is a suggested course development. Each university can have their own, and it's only from my understanding I'm suggesting this. Then you come to the modular. Modular is where you talk about your pre-stressing, pre-engineering, prefabricated. Like in metal and composites, you've already learned about your prefab things. Already, it's all composite. You've learned something on with concrete. Metal, you've learned something basing column beam structure, portal things, and other pre-engineering things are being taught here. So sixth semester is totally devoted towards basically your modular kind of structures, which is going to take place and happen. Next is your construction. Then I can come to construction document. That is what the question which I've asked everyone. For each things up till now, I can do made some model, some do something, something other can be done. Whereas for this construction document, I don't have anything to do. How I can implement the same kind of philosophy which I've taught you is right now in this construction document is a challenge which is there. That's why I asked feedback from all of you. Like somebody has given do review, and then I think do, somebody said plan, do review, somebody is given other some other ideas, but in a structural form, how you're going to teach is what I'm looking for, and I'll give you answer to that in my next slide. And the last one was basically advanced building material, where we talk about BIM, we talk about drone, where we talk about lift slabs, we talk about your latest technology, we talk about IoT. Whatever the Amarnath was saying is all being taught to the students at this particular stage. And because they, till that stage, the students have assimilated that much knowledge so that they can all go forward and can learn how 3D printing is happening, or 3D housing, your 3D printing is happening, how laser or how parametric facades are being done. So that's why we had lectures from facade consultant, we had lectures from BIM, we had lectures from experts. And in the process, we also, like yesterday, somebody was asking, okay, what about your green building concepts and other things, your intelligent building? So this is the stage we introduce. We give them a problem for which they themselves are they themselves have to select a site. We give them 4 or 5 sites. They pick up one of the site. They have their own area programming. They have their own client. They all decide. We act as a client. We do a kind of a role play. We guide them. We act as a facilitator, not as a lecturer. We act as a facilitator with them in the learning process of designing a green house for your green project in this advanced building construction method technology semester. So there they themselves, they are introduced to sub-GRIA rating. They are also introduced to those tools which are available, which are in the development stage, as to can be used for assessing their projects as to where they stand. So they do that, all that. It's all there in my blog. You can just see those things. If you go to that semester 8 and then go down, you will be seeing those results which have been given by students in this. So this is where we culminate our basically your construction, teaching of construction to our students by hand. Now I'm just going to as to what this is where I don't want. It's time for action. Can we? I think Tulika, we don't have time to break them into small groups, or we can just. I
Uh,
can just. I'll discuss my thing and then we'll go for question answers after this.
okay,
Is it
okay.
okay?
Yeah, yeah, fine.
Okay, because what is there is I don't want people to do what is there reflected there. They should not make these kinds of mistakes where they don't know as to how the basically the revisions are taking place in drawings, and how the columns are being placed, and how the folding doors, and with the wrong just taking stencils and putting it there urinal you'll have these kinds of problems. So how do you resolve these things? So I'm giving my idea. You can have your own ideas on the same philosophy where we are. It is something like this. Okay, I give them a problem. I pre-hand fixed already. I give them, because for this you have to do a lot of studies. We give them basically 6, 7 projects. They work in a group. We give them drawings for that, and we tell them to, since they've done small project, they've also done the modular design. So there they made those kinds of a work, some part of working drawing they've done. So I give the same thing to them, and then I give some certain set of drawings to them, and then in a group they analyze, they see that, they find mistakes in that. So how can you find mistakes unless until you know them? So that is the reason from previous learning, I'm just testing as to what they have got up till now. So they explore those working drawings. They see how the drawings are being connected and basically related, or basically section drawings are marked, section lines are marked, dimensions are given, grids are marked, levels are given, cross-referencing done, and labeling done. So all these things are all some mistakes purposely are given drawing so that they can identify those. Then we come forward, we have discussions in the classrooms, and then we formulate a kind of a checklist. This checklist is formulated by them only, by the experience of what they've experienced in those drawings which we had supplied to them. That is one way of doing. Other could be, I could have also told them, okay, go go to any in case available drawings are available, go to any small project, get those drawings, see how those working drawings are being made. If you got access to those drawings, So see how those drawings are made, how cross-referencing done, how labeling done. So unless until they know what is to be done and what is to be seen, they will not draw the same thing in their drawing while doing the construction drawings. So that is the reason I give them explore, then we debate, they formulate the checklist for drawings, and then they prepare the final drawings. And then the final drawing has to be readable. And it has to be like I find this very much with students that certain things are missing. It's not readable, it's not legible, it's not labeled, it is not productivity is not as to what we are expected. So then we make these drawings checked by other different students. So they check it, they find out mistakes of that, and this is where that 360-degree evaluation kind of thing comes. And then they revise their drawing and they reinforce on that concept. And this is how my thought process is how we can teach basically working drawings to students in our studio. I just got through only, I've just seen because I was shared, I got only 4 5 assignments only, so I could only go through them. And whereas I think Tulika is saying that she has got the thing in the drive also, I'll go through that also. And I'm open to discussion. This is what my way of basically taking this construction semester or construction verticals to our architecture students. And it doesn't end here. My journey with you all continues. And I'm also still learning. That is the reason I've asked all of you to give me feedback and your own thought processes. And I, as facilitator, will try to incorporate all those ideas and things which we get from this manthan, which we are going to have in next 15 minutes. And we can use it in our basically other further concepts. And I'm open for all any question answers in case you have any. I've stopped sharing, Tulika.
Yeah, yes, sir. So, sir, I would really like to thank you for this session. It was really mind-stirring, and we have realized that changing the environments to stimulate active learning based on research and hands-on exercises will benefit the students profoundly. And also, the transformation from teacher-centric models to learner-centric models will definitely induce collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and would enhance creative thinking. The pedagogical methods were innovative and made us all realize that it is high time and we should move towards learning by doing. Thank you so much. And we have certain questions in our chat box. So it is from so how sir, how many hours in a week do you think we have to ideally assign for construction subject? And what could be your ideal student to teacher ratio?
See, student to teacher ratio, the COA has given us certain guidelines. They say, okay, 1 is to 10. That is the ratio which we have to follow. And that is also the small group ideal. See, let me tell you, even if I make small 1 is to 10 groups ratio, but all teachers are not same. So the parity between teachers or these kinds of FDP before the start of session has to be done so that everybody is on the same page. And as well as the what is the learning or how much hours have to be given, we give normally 5 hours a week is what is allocated to our 5 to 4 hours in a week is what is allocated to students in construction studio. So I hope I answered that because what is there is this ideal. I'm still struggling as to what is the ideal ratio because all teachers also have to come into the same page, and then only that learning will happen. It's not only one teacher who's going to give lecture. Everybody has to chip in and give his innovation and his or her ideas. Then only we can take it this forward. I think Hitesh and some he's raising his hand. He's got some question.
Yeah, yeah, yes, Hitesh sir. Yeah.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
हाँ गुड मॉर्निंग आपकी आवाज थोड़ी कम है
Eh, I find your presentation fantastic. Uh, we we also practice similar kind of method. I submitted some of those examples in assignment which we have mailed. But the question which I'm facing right now is i- this can be we are able to do this for understanding some principles and fundamentals of structure and construction per se. But when it comes to inculcating habit of innovation, bringing something uh, which not entirely new, but which may be a different approach to the same kind of problem. So can that be developed as an attitude, as a method in our process of learning itself? Mm, because otherwise we would be, in a sense, if not mimicking, we will be recreating the things which has been done in the past. So I was just wondering, can this method be extended where we can bring innovation as a habit, as an attitude in students?
Yes, because this happens, how this happens. If you give student a freedom and give him all the confidence and pat him when required as a good teacher, then only he will take it forward. And like I tell you, in our this thing, we taught them in our institute, we taught them breaks and this thing. Then some of the students, they were engaged in the social work outside, and then they made those kinds of benches, that they use those bottles and they use other things. So this is what, as a teacher, you have to identify those students who can go further, because all students will not go towards that journey, but you as a teacher has to identify and help those teachers to move forward and move ahead. If you have done 10% of your students in this, you have helped him lifelong in his learning. So this is what I say, innovation happens. This keeps on changing. The time is revising. Like I told you, now it's going to be virtual university now. That is what is going to happen. If the course thing will be fixed, a student is given flexibility. Okay, I am taking course with Mr. Malik. I am taking, okay, and whatever assignment I am submitting will be assessed and developed by Mr. Hitesh, and the evaluation will be done somewhere else. So this is what we are moving, and our mindset has to change towards that, and we will all have to work towards that and hold our students' hand. And we got to have passion for, unless and until you got to have passion and compassion for students, you will not move forward.
So what I'm gathering from your answer is that the 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 innovation would, you can't just force it in, but it would happen
Force
once.
it. You can't force it. It comes from, it happens once you give him freedom. You have to give that environment to students. Then only the innovation happens. Otherwise, innovation will not happen. Suddenly, एक दिन आराम से आ गया, एक idea आ गया, जैसे यूरेका में यूरेका, he was taking a bath and he got that idea and Archimedes, and he did it. It's not. It doesn't happen like that. You got to. So there also he had that environment of having bath coolly, relaxing, connecting with his thought process. He was reflecting on his idea. Then only he got that idea.
True, true. That I even realized when we work on, we have
You're not audible. You're breaking. Voice is breaking.
what I was saying is that I have realized this during all the on-field work. Like, we have a beautiful construction yard. Thankfully, we have a good space here in Rajkot.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
we have a large construction yard, and every time we make an arch or a fail arch, when we break it, we realize new aspect of even a structural understanding of arch itself. So that is the beauty of
because
working.
in arch there's something known as time. Yeah, so that's why I said, this learning happens. Experiential learning gives you instant feedback. It immediately tells you that this is where you are wrong. It's an instant feedback you get immediately, and then you improve and reflect upon, and then you improve. Like for an arch, importance of tie beams or those ties is there. Or in case I don't have ties, I have got those abutments, or I have got those weights which is there on top of spinnacle. So these are the things which students, once they're given freedom to do it, I'm so happy that you have got in your institution a construction yard and giving them all material to do it. So that is, use it. My only thing is, advice is use it.
Yeah, true. So I have one more question. Can I go ahead? I have one more question. Can I ask it?
Problem is your audio.
This is my audio. I'll just switch off the video if it can help.
Hitesh sir, I really request you to please be quick. There are so many questions flooding in the chat box.
Okay, the question which I was like, the one which you proposed at the end, the new course structure, in which you're proposing that the construction should be learned from premise of materials. So first we learn masonry, then we learn wood, then we learn steel and composite material and so on. And so what it means is that we would be learning elements in every semester. So column would be learned in every semester, or
Yes.
stair would be learned in every semester. So the only worry I have, or question I have, is when we would really talk about the design consideration of that element. Because when I talk about a stair in masonry and a stair in wood, there are certain considerations which are very common every time, but there are aspect of construction and assembly would be varying in different semester. So how we address that? That is the only question I have.
So that is what is the learning is. That is what I mean to. That is what I told you. Na? There is a connect which is there, and because of the material thing, how the junctions are changing is what is to be taught to them. If I tell everything right in the beginning, okay, column is constructed like this in steel, column is constructed like this in brick, column is constructed something like in wood, and the half of the thing he will remember, half of the thing he will go away. So unless until you go, that's why I say the course structure has to be horizontally also linked up with your structural subject which is happening throughout the semester, or your services happening throughout the semester, and also has to happen vertically throughout the semester in construction. So that is the that is what, and each semester I'm adding some material. And remember, at third semester I said combination of both. There you have metal, you have wood, and you also have your brick incorporated in those disaster management houses. So there, I'm not leaving that. And same way, steel and concrete, which I've taught, I've just connected that with the modular kind of a thing. So there, you are
Right.
also linking. It's a kind of a storyline we are building. Unless until you build a storyline and build an interest in students, nothing will happen. No learning will take. This is what my understanding of teaching construction is. You, in case you want, you can have in your course curriculum one thing at one time. You will teach everything. But what I feel is it'll be too much of knowledge which will be given to student at that particular moment for that particular element, and which has got various parameters of wood, steel, your concrete, because each one, if you teach them material wise, the speciality or the whatever the structural characteristics of those things is understood by student very well.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thank you.
I'd like to
Thank you so much.
get in touch with you if I can have your mail
Yes,
ID.
yes, yes. Oh, my mail ID, it was there right in the beginning. And also, Tulika, I'll request you to put it on the chat box. And also, you can go through my blog. If
I
you see
will.
the
I will.
blog there, have you seen Prakash Thumb? Just go there, you will find a lot of ideas and a lot of innovations.
So
I
yeah,
will go
I've
through.
shared the blogging websites of Virendra sir in the chat box earlier when he was presenting the session. I'll do it again. So the next question, we have another participant who has raised his hand, Hakeemuddin. Can you please switch on your camera and unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, am I audible,
Yeah,
sir?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sir, it is a really interesting way to look at the entire construction inculcation in architecture academics. I belong to the same school where we focus great on construction application. That is why my question is very different from Hitesh, is that, sir, when we do hands-on and learning by doing in construction, how construction material and its application should go in hand with the other very important and dominant subject called design studios, because over here we see that you are doing the integration at various levels and you are doing a very interesting construction studios in construction. But the way you partially answered my question, that how structures and other services should be integrated with construction, the bigger question still lies in my mind is that how studio should be also addressing the construction or other way around. Sir, please.
Okay, we have done that same exercise also. Like I'll tell you, in our studio, one of the studios, in design studios, at later stage, we have actually in our this thing, we have got design coordinators and studio directors. So they are the one in consultation with us. One of the in the design studio, they introduced because design also has got those values of materiality, structure,
Yes.
aesthetics, and other things. So there, in one of the studios, they had specially made that studio totally related to construction. They say, okay, freedom is given since, okay, this happened somewhere. Once you have attained that knowledge, this happened to studios in fourth year, sorry, in fourth semester or third semester, where you have learned some parts of design, you know how to design, and there you introduce a problem where you say, okay, if I like for a second year, they had gone to Bhutan. So there the construction elements were what I am talking about in Hill, Joe, I am talking about in the third semester. So there they were relating it, where you had gone on a site visit to Bhutan and design related to the construction which is done in Bhutan is being done. Same way they had gone to Sri Lanka, where or Chennai, where design related to the coastal regions were done. So that was what was related with bamboo and your other
Yes.
things. So this is where, as a head of institute, you or in any of the, if you call me in board of studies, I'll I'll help you to make it a member,
I would
because
be pleased to.
so there it's open to everyone. You can call me there
Yeah.
also, because there the integration has to done where what is happening in design. Because I told you, ultimate wisdom is once you apply the same principle which we teach here in design studio. That is what is the ultimate satisfaction which we get. So there must, whatever verticals I made it here, the same kind of a sequencing or something has to be done in my design studio
Yes.
also.
Yes.
So
Yes.
those problems
Yeah.
have to be introduced there. Like a core, your core and your concrete things and all, they teach, they have the multi-story things which is coming up to them in the fourth or fifth or sixth year studio. So it's all related, na? And in
Yes.
structure
It should
also we
be.
do, and in structure also, that is the care which you have to take as a member of BOS, so that this happens.
Yeah. So true integration of all applicable subjects will really help
Has to be
students
there.
to learn. It has to be.
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
this
Thank
is
you for replying,
how,
sir.
because otherwise what happens is, otherwise you're teaching everything, starting everything with scrap each year,
Yes. Yes.
and he has forgotten those things,
Very true,
and he
sir.
will not
Very true.
apply to those things then.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for replying. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So Mr. Taha had posted a question in the chat box. I request the participant to please ask it. Mr. Taha, are you there?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am. Hello, hello, sir. It was very insightful presentation, and we all are blessed to see this presentation. Sir, my question
No,
is,
it's the other way around. I'm blessed to have all of you there with me and giving me now these feedback for me to improve further. Like I
yes,
told
sir.
you, my journey continues.
Sir, though my question was like this kind of syllabus, why we are not adopting through a nationwide and for such theory subjects, and we have bits and pieces, and every university has different kind of syllabus problems, and we cannot switch from those topic, and we have to continue teaching those topics on which we don't feel comfortable on those years. Few
So
university
this
has this
this
thing.
actually happens. This actually happens in board of studies, which happen for your institution.
Yes.
And let me tell you, AICTE has already given one framework of the whole syllabus which has to be followed, and it is also up to the initiative which the COA has to take
Yes.
as our leader. They have to take this thing, and they can, like I'm saying, they should frame this, and then once this is framed, it's spread across. Each one teaches the same thing. Only tweaking is allowed, 10 to 20% tweaking, which is allowed in the syllabus. That is being achieved. It's what is the ultimate thing which we want. Otherwise universities will say, schools will say, यार ये तो same आ रहा है यार, हमारा change क्या, मेरा USP क्या है? Every university, because it's a hoard lagi hui hai na, so every university will say, okay, mera USP kya hai, to attract everybody, so mera USP kya hai? So you have your, but there is already a framework which is available in AICT. So they have given one composite and framework for all subjects. COA can also take this forward, and during the visits which happens of the inspectors, they can check these things, whether they are following those kind of a syllabus or those things or not. So it's all workable, can be done, provided will is there. Or you call me in your BS, I'll suggest there.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for being a part of this workshop and gracing our event. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. It's really, I have been enriched by the students. And let me tell you, whatever questions you have given, give it to Tulika. I'll go through it and I'll come back to you and I'll reply. Thank you.